vaginal
cesarean
emergency
section.
cesarean, sir.
Cesarean section, okay.
Yes. Yes.
And he's the firstborn child,
He's the firstborn male child. Yes.
Firstborn male child, yeah.
Yes,
And the
sir.
mother age was 25.
Was 26 years. Yes. Yes.
26 at the time of birth, okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's a little late in this one, but it's still not elderly. Okay,
Yeah,
by
of course,
definition, we
not
call
more than
65 years as elderly primary.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and was mother, you told as per you, there are no antenatal or complications.
Postnatal history of significance. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no
It was a
antenatal.
booked pregnancy.
Yeah, so I'm taking it that mother never had any gestational diabetes or something like that. Is it not?
Nothing, sir. Nothing. Yeah.
So you know
no
what I'm driving
diabetes,
at.
no history of
Yeah.
fever, without rash.
As I told you last
nothing
time,
like
the firstborn male child of a diabetic mother, okay, happens to have more commonly the complete transposition of great arteries. Is it not? So that's what I'm trying to drive you at. Is it?
Sorry, sir. I think
firstborn
there is some network issue.
Completion मारा तरफ
Yes, sir.
Your voice is breaking. Your voice is.
Sir, I am not speaking. Someone else. I think.
Someone else was speaking. Okay.
Sir, we can hear you now, sir. Yes, sir.
Hear me or?
Sir? Okay, sir. So you asked me about the causes
network issues at your level or at my level?
Can you hear me now? Sir, my network is, I think, is fine. Maybe something went wrong intermittently. Sir, can you hear me now?
Hello?
Sir, yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
You're able to hear me now? Okay. I was
Yes,
asking you what are the causes of a cyanosis in the first 1 week of life.
Yes, sir. At the first 1 week of life, sir, we should think of like conditions which can be first of all like DTJ with intact septum is a possibility. Then we should think of atresia like pulmonary atresia and duct dependent
intact septum means no. Wait. I'll ask you. DTJ with intact septum means what? Intact IAS or intact IVS?
Intact
interventricular septum. Yeah, DTJ with intact IVS. Okay. So you have to remember that by 3 days, what will happen? Generally, the PFO is going to close. Okay, so those conditions which are dependent upon PFO, a right to left shunt across the PFO for manifestation of cyanosis.
Yes, sir.
Like say tricuspid Epstein's anomaly. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's dependent upon an patent foramen oval. Okay. So they will present before the 3rd day of life. And after 3rd day of life, they may not have unless they have some other cause for cyanosis. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So those conditions which require a PFO, they will not manifest after the 3rd day or on the 3rd day. They have to present within the first 3 days, provided the parents have been very observant enough. Okay, and parents are reliable observants. Okay.
Yes, sir.
In India, most of the time, you don't expect the parents to be highly educated or aware of their environment and all these things, mild issues.
Yes.
So that we have to take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, so this holds good for the Western countries. Okay, but here if the parent is a reliable informant, as you already told,
yes, sir,
we may be justified in thinking of some other conditions. Okay, so one was DTJ with intact IVS, you told me. Okay.
Second cause will be, sir, tricuspid.
Why not DTJ with VSD with PS? Why with intact IVS does it present
intact
on 3rd day?
IVS will present earlier than DTJ with VSD, sir, large VSD.
Because okay, so intact IVS, what's the cause of cyanosis there?
Sir, in the case of intact IVS, there will be no mixing. No sufficient mixing between the two chambers. So they present earlier than those with a large V.
No. You see, when the IVS is intact, they have to be for survival. Because there are two parallel circulations now. So for survival, they are dependent upon either an ASD
or a PFO or a VSD.
Or a VSD is not there. No, intact IVS you told.
Or a PDA.
Yeah, or a PDA. So either an ASD or a PDA.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so will they present at this time? Okay, they can present, yes. To any other condition?
So then tricuspid atresia of different types, and those of type 1A and 2A in which there is pulmonary atresia, they will present earlier than those with tricuspid atresia.
What will happen like when you call it as type 1A and 2A, it's better to qualify whenever you use the term tricuspid atresia.
Yeah, those who are which are having pulmonary atresia.
So tricuspid
and type 2A. Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you should say, normally related great arteries or
transposition of the great arteries.
Or the transposition of the great arteries. Okay. So I think it's better you qualify because type 1A and 2A, it may take time for most of the people to remember what is type 1A and type 2A.
Of course. Yes.
Okay, so what do you mean by type 1A and what do you mean by type 2A?
Sir, by type 1A, I mean that by type 1, I simply mean that the great arteries are normally related. And by saying A, I mean that it is pulmonary atresia.
Pulmonary
Whereas,
atresia. Okay, okay.
whereas by type 2, I mean that there is detransposition of the great arteries. And by A, I mean the same, that is pulmonary atresia in that
Pulmonary atresia. Okay, okay, okay. So in both the conditions, pulmonary atresia is there. What
Yes.
about, do you want to, can you, about
Yes.
VSD, you want to tell something about the VSD
Yes.
also?
Yeah, actually.
Type 1 and type 2, depending
Yes,
upon the VSD, you want to tell something about that?
I'll tell, sir. So, like, first of all, the tricuspid atresia has been divided into three parts: type 1, type 2, and type 3. The first part is 1, 2, and 3 are on the basis of the great arterial relationship and VA concordance. Like type 1 is normally related great arteries, type 2 is DTGA, and type 3 is LTGA. That is congenitally corrected TGA.
Okay, okay. So now type 1 is the normally related, type 2 is the transposition, you can say.
Transposition, detransposition, and type 3 is L transposition.
Yes,
Now
yes.
further subdividing into A, B, and C, sir. In the case of A, we have pulmonary atresia, and there will be intact interventricular septum. So there will be no
That is very simple. What you can say, type A, B, C, pulmonary atresia, pulmonic stenosis, and no pulmonic stenosis. Okay.
It will be unrestricted VSD and no pulmonary stenosis.
Yeah, because what will happen? Pulmonary atresia, pulmonic stenosis, and no pulmonic stenosis. Okay, that way you can remember very well. And type 1 is normal, and type 2 and 3 are transpositions. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That happens to be end also. Now you tell me again, what are the conditions?
Yes, sir. So the next condition which can present in the first week of life will be, sir, TAPVC. It can present in the first week of life. Even tossing ring anomaly is a possibility.
What's the cause of wait. What's the cause of cyanosis in TAPVC?
The TAPVC is the cause of, sir, admixture lesion. It is like above the atrium.
Admixture lesion. Okay, so what are the basic mechanisms of cyanosis in a neonate or infant?
Yes, sir. The basic mechanisms can be, first of all, there will be due to decreased pulmonary blood flow, sir.
Yes, very good.
It can be due to admixture physiology, in which it can have increased or balanced pulmonary circulation, or it can have like near normal pulmonary circulation. In the case of decreased pulmonary blood flow,
decreased pulmonary blood flow.
Yes, sir. We will have
admixture lesion. Okay.
Admixture lesion. And third, there are some rare conditions in which there can be near normal pulmonary blood flow, like abnormal connection of the SVC, IVC to LA. These are rare conditions.
Okay. So but they have so that is as good as admixture lesion?
Yeah, we can say we admit.
Yeah, see IVC draining into LA, which is one of the rare abnormalities.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's one of the compared to SVC, IVC draining into LA is more common than SVC draining into LA, is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, unless you have a persistent LSVC and all.
Yeah.
So in IVC draining into LA behaves like an admixture lesion, is it not?
Of course, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is the third pathology which can lead to cyanosis? I'm asking you.
There is, sir, Eisenmenger physiology is also a possibility.
Yeah, very good. So you should remember VSD with PS, Eisenmenger, and admixture lesions. These three are the basic pathologies, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so among these three basic pathologies, which are the pathologies which can present in the first 1 week?
Yes, sir. So we can talk about, we can go about in different, admixture lesions are most likely to present in the first 1 week of life.
Very good. First 1 week of life is the admixture lesion which presents.
And these admixtures can be at different levels, sir. It can be above the level of atrium, like TAPVC. It can be at the level of atrium, like common atrium.
Very good.
At the level of atrium, like common atrium or HLHS is also a possibility, sir.
Okay.
And then at the level of ventricle, it can be a single ventricle.
Okay.
And at the level of great arteries, it can be truncus arteriosus.
Truncus arteries. Okay. So TAPVC can occur at supracardiac, cardiac, or both the levels it can occur, or infracardiac also.
Or it can be mixed.
Yeah, or it can be mixed also. So most of the time when it's 1 week, you believe that it's an admixture lesion, okay?
Yes, sir.
And it can be any one of them, okay?
Or it can.
Then what about VSD with PS? Generally they present at 3rd to 5th month.
Normally they present later, sir. But if it is like critical stenosis or pulmonary atresia, and they will be duct dependent, so they can present as soon as the duct closes after day 2 or 3 of
So that's the third day. So the second point I was driving to.
Most of the contribution comes from atrial contraction.
Circulation, okay.
Circulation, sir. Yes.
Below the age of 40, 45, most of the contraction, most of the volume comes in through early relaxation.
Or with a cardiac shock also sometimes.
This change in the pressure
it is duct
with the
dependent pulmonary or duct dependent
circulation,
sir.
Yes. Then we're now coming to what is called as The third one. Okay, what is that? Eisenmenger physiology.
Eisenmenger's physiology, sir.
Yeah. So when do they present?
So normally the Eisenmenger physiologies will be after the pulmonary vascular resistance has increased to a significant amount.
No, when do they present? Tell me the time, no?
Sir, it depends on the cardiac lesion, which is leading to Eisenmengerization.
What's the commonest stage of presentation? Most of the time, Eisenmenger, when do you see?
Normally they will present like if they are secondary to a shunt lesion, they will present after the first decade of life.
Yeah,
like
generally they present in the second decade, okay? You say it's the second decade because most of the time Eisenmenger complex, which we take as VSD, with reversal of shunt across the VSD because of increased PVR, okay? Now tell me, are there any some Eisenmenger physiologies which can present in the first 1 month or 1 week or 1 year of life?
Yes, sir. There are two possibilities in this case, sir. First will be like in 5% of the population, there is non-regression of the pulmonary vascular resistance. So they can directly merge from the non-regression of neonatal pulmonary vascular resistance to Eisenmengerization. That is just seen in 5% of the cases. The second condition will be in
5% of what? 5% of what?
Of the total
shunt lesions.
Of the total shunt.
No. I think you are going in a little convoluted way of thinking. I call it as, okay? So when I'm asking you, the patient who can present with Eisenmenger physiology in the infancy means 1 month or 1 year of life, okay?
Okay, sir.
Neonatal infancy, okay, 1 year of life. Number one you will think of is this. Have you heard something about the persistent fetal circulation?
Fetal circulation, yes, sir.
Yeah, there the pulmonary vascular resistance refuses to regress, and they continue to have a PFO and they continue to have a PD, okay?
Yes.
And second possibility is a patient with a Down syndrome. Now listen to me,
yes.
Now.
Yes.
Yeah, when patient with a Down syndrome, okay, with a endocardial cushion defect.
Yeah.
There you can have a rapid progression of pulmonary vascular disease, and these are the conditions where there can be a lack of regression of pulmonary vascular resistance. Okay, so these are the two conditions where they can have Eisenmenger situation in the infancy. Okay, so when I'm asking you these two things, you should tell me 5% of total Eisenmenger physiologies. I'm not asking. Okay, which are the conditions? Okay, if they can present, then you have to tell me these two conditions. Okay.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah. So we have to think when we're going, because at the history level itself, we'll be able to come to a reasonable conclusion. Okay. Yeah. Please proceed.
Sir, in these conditions, like early Eisenmengerization, we can also say of conditions like cyanotic conditions which can go into Eisenmengerization, sir, like truncus arteriosus. Or
yes, definitely.
With unprotected
especially what will happen if you take an AP window.
Yes.
Okay, AP window generally they develop in the first, not in the first year of life, but they develop in the first decade of life. Okay. AP window, yeah, first decade. Within the first year, I think these two things you have to think of. Okay. Because there is rapid progression in these first two conditions. Okay. Down syndrome is not just because of the VSD. In fact, the genetic abnormality also leads to some problem in the pulmonary vascular circulation, which is responsible for having such a rapid increase in pulmonary vascular resistance. Okay, whereas in AP window, if you see 80% of them will develop severe PAH and increase in PVR by the first decade of life. Okay, but that does not mean necessarily in the first 1 year of life. Generally, by the time they present and all, it's after the 1 year of life, right? Now, so that's the reason we don't consider and all. And generally, truncus, they'll present with such severe increase again after the 1 year of life only. Many times because they gave us to two pulmonary arteries, and one of them may have some kinking or some obstruction at the level of the origin of the pulmonary artery from the truncus. So that way, some part of the lung may be protected there.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, proceed.
Sir, in TGA, sir.
TGA?
There can be early Eisenmengerization in PAH.
In the TGA?
Yes, sir.
No, TAPVC you are telling. No, TAPVC or TGA. Complete TGA or meaning?
Yes, sir.
Complete TGA with intact IVS or without this one, with a large VSD?
Sir, there can be early
TGA, in complete TGA, what's happening? Yeah, in complete TGA, what's happening? Pulse the circulation, SVC and IVC are draining into RA. And from there, draining into RV and the aorta. And pulmonary vein is draining into the LA, LV and pulmonary artery. Okay. So these are parallel circulations and all. Okay. With an intact IVS, why should they develop increased PVR? You tell me. There has to be a mechanism for that, no?
Sir, with VSD, sir.
Huh?
With VSD, sir. With VSD.
Yeah, with VSD you are doing okay. No, but you were discussing first.
Unprotected pulmonary blood flow.
Yeah, unprotected pulmonary blood flow, it will behave like a large VSD. Okay. But developing with a 1 year of
Developing
life,
first year.
with the first year of life, it's very unusual, I think. Okay.
Most of
In
them
fact,
will,
most of
90%
them,
will
the
die.
first 1 year of life, what we have to do, as I discussed it last time also, we go for arterial switch operation. Why do we go for arterial switch within the first year of life? Because the RV is exposed to the systemic circulation. LV is exposed to pulmonary circulation. So LV will regress. Okay, and RV will be hypertrophied. And afterwards, if we change it, LV will not be able to take the burden of the systemic circulation because it has regressed. And as we know, the RV wall thickness is less than 3 to 5 times the LV thick wall. Okay, so LV will not be able to cope up with the systemic circulation. So that will go into failure. That's the rationale for doing an arterial switch in the first 1 year of life. Okay. Yeah, and TJ with VSD, of course, it behaves like a VSD. There's going to be a circulation, increased circulation and all. Okay, but if that necessarily leads to increased PVR in the first 1 year of life, okay, I'll have to again reconfirm with that and all. Okay, after 1 year, yes, agreed. Okay, with the 1 year, the rationale is something else. Yeah, proceed.
Yes, sir. So, sir, they were advised of staged interventional procedures, and they were told that the first
interventional procedure. Okay,
yes,
okay.
sir. And they were told that 3 interventions will be taking place in this child. First will be done now itself. At that time, they were told, and that will be a like percutaneous intervention. And the second stage will be a surgery, which will be done around 6 to 9 months of age. And the third stage will be another surgery, which will be done around 3 to 4 years of life. They were told this, sir.
Okay. So I think that history is a giveaway for you, probably. Okay. Carry on, yes.
So the child was, after the admission to this new hospital on day 3rd of life, the child was
but always believe that do not go by ready-made diagnosis. Okay, sometimes parents might not have understood correctly what they have told. Okay, yes, but if they are very good, reliable observer, they and all. But always never go with ready-made diagnosis. Always come to your own conclusions and all. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Carry on.
So after admission, the child was started on a costly medication. After that, and this was given for the next 2 days.
After this counseling, he was started on a costly medication.
And he was admitted at that hospital.
Okay, so at the same time, tell me whether it was a tablet, IV, infusion, or
it was an injection, sir. It was an injection which we told. It was a simple injection which was given. It was very costly.
Like, was it given in ICU? Was it given in ward, or was it given at home? Or
sir, he was admitted in ICU as soon as he was admitted.
Yeah, so that history is important. Okay, he was admitted in the ICU, and then he was started an IV injection, a costly IV infusion. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so most probably, what is it likely to be?
It is likely to be prostin, sir. Prostaglandin E1.
Okay.
For the patency of duct.
Okay, to maintain the patency of the duct.
Yes. Sir.
Okay. Where are the conditions where you want to maintain? What are the circulations which are duct dependent? Can you tell me? What was the age of the patient at that time?
It was day 3rd, sir.
Day 3, no? Okay. Yes. So day 3, generally we expect PDA to close.
Yes, sir.
72 hours. So what are the conditions where we want to keep the PDA open? In other words, what are the circulations which are duct dependent?
Yes, sir. We can divide these duct dependent circulations into 3 types, sir. First is duct dependent pulmonary circulation, in which there is decreased pulmonary blood flow in the form of
pulmonary, duct dependent systemic, and what's the third one?
Third is admixture, sir. Like in the case of TGA with intact ventricular septum, we will like the duct to be patent. So in those conditions also we need, sir.
Okay, so now tell me some conditions where the duct dependent pulmonary circulation.
So duct dependent pulmonary circulation will be top with pulmonary atresia, top with critical PS, AV canal defect with atresia, tricuspid atresia, type 1A, type 2A, or DORV with pulmonary atresia. Any condition in which pulmonary atresia basically is there, or critical pulmonary stenosis is there, they will be duct dependent pulmonary circulation, sir.
Okay, suppose I ask you a question now. What about pulmonary atresia with intact IVS?
Pulmonary atresia intact IVS will also be a possibility, sir. But
now because you didn't tell that and all, pulmonary atresia specifically told VSD. Yes, because you didn't tell it, I want to ask you whether it can occur there also.
Yes, sir, it can occur, sir. It is
okay. So that is our pulmonary circulation. What about duct-dependent systemic circulation?
Duct-dependent systemic circulations are those circulations which need the patency of duct to maintain the systemic perfusion. They can be in the form of critical coarctation of aorta, hypoplastic left heart syndrome.
But first thing will not tell coarctation, it will tell something else. Yeah.
Hypoplastic left heart syndrome.
Left heart syndrome 1, 2.
Coarctation of aorta critical.
3.
Interrupted aortic arch.
Okay, good, very good. 4.
Aortic atresia.
Aortic atresia, okay. Interrupted aortic arch, okay. Okay, no problems. Okay, that's sufficient. Okay, then the third one is admixture.
That means admixture, sir. Like in the case of TGA with intact ventricular septum, we will need mixing in those cases. Like we are unable to do the arterial switch operation so early, like the center is not so well equipped. So we will have to do balloon atrial septostomy because interatrial communication is needed, and we should have a patent duct also, sir, so that the mixing can happen.
Once you have a good balloon atrial septostomy, why do you need a PDA to be patent in TGA?
Sir, in the case of we have a good balloon atrial septostomy, actually it has a side effect of also
that achieves adequate mixing, is it not, at the level? So then why do you need a patent ductus there when you get suppose you get a very good balloon atrial septostomy?
Yes.
Okay, and you achieve adequate mixing, then why do you need a patent PDA there?
Like many a times, sir, in the case of VSD with intact septum, we do not prefer balloon atrial septostomy much because it leads to the regression of the LV much faster. Past leads to regression of LV much faster than keeping the duct patent. So we prefer.
No, but you see, always the first possibility is the class 1 indication will be balloon atrial septostomy. At DTGA with intact IVS, okay, the first treatment of choice will be balloon atrial septostomy. If your ASD is not large enough and the mixture is not there, okay, not PDA, is it not?
Yes.
Okay. So anyhow, we will deal with it later again. Proceed now.
So after he was started on this medication on day 3rd of life, and on day 5th of life, the first intervention was done, which was done through the right femoral right leg. It was done to the right leg for that child.
Right leg. And
the parents were told that a stent has been put inside the heart. They have been told, and the child remained well after the procedure, and he was discharged.
No, so this was done on 5th day?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and a stent was put?
And a stent was put. This the parents were informed, sir.
Okay, stent was put. Okay, so where was that stent put? Any idea?
It must have been put in the PDA, sir.
Yeah, so most probably PDA stenting has been done.
Yes.
Okay, so what are the conditions where will you go for a PDA stenting?
Sir, PDA stenting will be required in those conditions, basically in which we cannot do the corrective surgery in the neonatal age group only, or the corrective surgery.
Day of life.
Yes, sir. Or the corrective surgery, or even the palliative stage surgery, as we are talking about stage palliative surgery like single ventricle.
No, I'll call it simple things. Okay, suppose I give you a choice.
Yes.
Okay, PDA stenting. Okay, TOF. Okay, DTGA. Okay, where will is more commonly done?
Sir, duct dependent lesion, pulmonary circulation lesion, sir.
Sorry.
Can you hear me, sir?
No. Will you do in a TOF or DTGA? PDA stenting is done. I am able to hear you, no? Hello?
Hello.
Are you able to hear me? I am able to hear you. Are you able to hear me? Okay. I am telling you.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Suppose I want to give you a choice between TOF and DTGA. Where is it more commonly done?
In the case of TOF with intact septum and sir.
And now TOF cannot have intact IVS. No, TOF by definition you cannot have intact IVS.
Sorry. You gave me the choices between TOF and
DTGA. Yeah. So where is it more likely? Because if you take 100 cases probably of PDA stenting, most of the cases are likely to have a TOF rather than DTGA. Okay.
Yes.
Number one. And secondly, the indication becomes a cyanotic spell. Okay. Like in the olden days when you wanted to do a BT shunt. Okay. Nowadays you can do it with a simple PDA stenting. Okay. Instead of exposing them to the BT shunt and all. Okay. Proceed. So PDA stenting was done. Okay. Next.
And the child was discharged after 5th day, keeping in ICU for 3 days, and he was kept in ward after that. And it went off uncomplicated.
Uncomplicated, very good. Okay. Yes. Was the child better? Worse or status quo after the procedure?
The child was found to be less cyanotic. According to the parents, the cyanosis disappeared What they said, they could not see the child blue any after that, and he was started on a daily medication.
Do you buy that the cyanosis has disappeared after this? Do you buy that?
Sir, because like we have
argument.
made
Is it possible
patent,
that PD-stenting cyanosis will disappear?
Sir, the pulmonary blood flow has increased, so more of blood will get oxygenated now. So the level
PD-stenting, why pulmonary blood flow is increased? PD-stenting will increase blood flow to which?
If we think of as duct-dependent pulmonary circulation, sir.
Okay, so duct-dependent pulmonary circulation, and you are thinking, okay, so most of the flow is occurring through the duct. You are thinking.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so from aorta to pulmonary. Okay, very good. Okay, so carry on.
So what I think from this is that the cyanosis would have decreased. It won't have normalized, but the parents might not have been able to catch, sir. But the cyanosis definitely would have decreased. Post-discharge, the child was on regular follow-up, and according to the parents, the child is found to be getting a bit cyanosis since last 1 month, only during crying.
Okay.
He seems to be more cyanosed. There is no
last 1 month means no. After this one, he was discharged, and after how many days he became cyanotic again?
Yeah, presently he is 8.5 months of age, sir.
Okay, at present is 8.5 months of age. Okay, yes. So that was at 5 months of age.
This procedure was done on day 5
days of age. Day 5 of age. Okay, so it's been 8 months.
Yeah. He has been asymptomatic for the next 6 months. From the last 1 month only, he seems to be a bit cyanotic during crying, that is during exerting.
Okay.
But it is there is no history of any suck cycle, any feeding difficulty or failure to thrive, or any history of chest infections or admissions after that. And the child has been presently admitted at our hospital for the second stage procedure, the planned second stage procedure, that is the first surgery, which he was advised initially. So developmentally, the child has attained all his milestones as per the age, sir, and he is completely immunized for his age. The child was initially on top feeds for the initial 6 months, and complementary feedings were started at 6 months of age, and he is getting adequate proteins and calorie feeds. And he is the only child of his parents, and there is no family history of any congenital heart disease. The head of the family works in a medicine shop, and the family belongs to a lower middle strata according to modified Kupuswamy scale.
Okay.
So, sir, summarizing the history.
Yeah.
This is a 8.5 months old child who was diagnosed to be cyanotic on day 3rd of life, for which a percutaneous procedure was done on day 5th of life. And the parents were informed that the child will subsequently need 2 more surgeries at 6 months and at 3 years of life. Post procedure, the cyanosis of the child decreased, but the child appears to be cyanotic again while exerting since last 1 month.
Okay,
and
so now, because you discussed as a DTJ with intact ventricular septum.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and a PD stenting.
Yes.
So now tell me, what is the reason for his worsening now? After say 7-8 months. After 8 months of procedure, why the patient has worsened again? Going by AR diagnosis of DTJ with intact IVS.
DTJ with intact, like
that's what you told, no? But that was a possibility you told me, first possibility.
Yeah, sir. If I consider DTJs with intact IVS and stenting has been done in this case, so as we know that in this case, since the LV is not being exposed to the systemic pressure, so the LV will regress with time. So this child won't be now suitable for an arterial switch operation, and for this child,
you see what is happening now.
Yes,
a PDA stenting has been done. Okay, so the flow across the PDA is occurring from aorta to PA. Okay, so the flow has increased.
Yes, sir.
Is it not? So still you feel the LV is just like before, or LV is exposed to, now the LV is exposed to increased volume or increased pressure or both?
LV is expressed, sir, it is being exposed to increased volume because as the pulmonary blood flow has increased, the pulmonary venous return will increase, sir. So the volume,
so pulmonary venous return, it has to come through mitral valve and LV. So the LV has been exposed to increased volume.
Okay. But it has not been exposed to increased pressure, sir.
Okay,
So,
okay. Why?
so it would have regressed, sir, by this time.
No, no. Again, that thinking will have some limitations. What will happen whenever the flow is increasing? Okay, you have something called as hyperkinetic pH. You might have heard about that, no?
Yes, yes, sir.
Because the pressure is dependent upon flow and resistance.
Yes, sir. Pressure is equal
Okay.
to P.
Flow and the resistance. Okay, so whenever the flow is reduced, the increase the pressure has to increase. Okay.
Yes.
It may not be systemic pressure, it may be subsystemic, but of course it has been exposed to increased pressure when compared to before the PDA stenting was done. Okay.
Yeah.
So that you have to remember. Okay. And of course the pulmonary circulation is also exposed to the increase in flow. Okay. And there probably you may be right in considering an increased pulmonary vascular resistance and pH, pulmonary vascular PVR increasing. Okay. Early on.
Yes.
Yeah, but it all depends upon how much the flow has increased and all. Okay, but here we are not considering a large non-restrictive VSD. Okay, because that you ruled out in the first itself. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, if you have a large non-restrictive VSD, of course we can expect a PVR to increase again. Okay, but here we are not considering, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now tell me what are the conditions? Why this just worsened?
So with time, sir,
was better with this one. With time, what has happened?
As the child grows, sir, the increase the pulmonary blood flow is like fixed. Thus, if the stent which they have put will be of a fixed diameter, sir, most likely it would have been of 3 mm or 3.5 mm. As the child grows, this requirement will increase, sir. So it is not sufficient. So the pulmonary blood flow is not sufficient.
So one thing is because lack of growth of the stent in size. Okay. Yes. So pulmonary circulation remaining the same as in neonate. Okay. 1. 2, you are discounting the ASD here, no? What about ASD?
Yes, the ASD, like it is also a source. Like if we are thinking of DTJ with an intact ventricular septum, the ASD is also a source of mixing which is needed, sir.
Yeah. So now probably this patient has ASD or not, you are not considered, is it not?
Yeah, we are not sure.
Yes. We are not sure. By the history, at least, if cannot be sure.
Yes.
Okay, but if the patient has a ASD, or if suppose the mixing is good at the interatrial level, okay,
yes,
we don't expect them to deteriorate so fast within 5 to 7 months or something like 8 months like that, is it not?
The deterioration will be slower. Right?
Yeah, will be much slower and this one. So that is one probably hint for us, thinking that even IIS may be intact here. Okay, and a balloon atrial septicemia has not been probably performed. Okay.
Okay.
So that we have to remember now. Any other possibilities I like to consider at the end of the history here?
Yes, I'll consider duct dependent lesions more, and since he has been planned initially only with that 2 fixed surgeries will be done, like 2-stage surgeries he have been told, sir. So it gives us a very big clue that most likely it will be of like 2-stage
palliative. I told you, because what has happened, the 3 surgeries and all, immediately that gave you the diagnosis, is it not?
Yeah, it gives us
I told you not to go by the ready-made diagnosis because that has given you the diagnosis on a platter. Okay, but I told you not to go for the ready-made diagnosis because what will happen even in the exam also will be considering how you are able to justify your findings. Okay.
Of course.
Because most of the time in the exam also you the echocardiographic diagnosis is known to most of the people. Okay. Even so, but we try to know how you are able to justify your diagnosis.
Yes.
That we have to look at. Okay. So here I think we are stuck at the history because of the clues given by the patient.
Sir,
okay.
If we don't consider
for most of the people, yeah. And the 3-stage surgery and this one, we get stuck there. Okay. But if you do not consider that, any other possibilities you want to consider?
Yeah, then we can think of if we think of, sir, other neonatal percutaneous interventions, sir, which can be done in the neonatal age group. We can think of those also. Like if some PV has been done, sir, pulmonary, percutaneous pulmonary balloon valvotomy has been done, maybe for a critical PS and later for a top with critical PS and later a corrective surgery can be done.
Suppose a PV was done for a critical PS. Do you expect person is going to deteriorate in 8 months? No, definitely not. Is it not?
Yeah, it can. It depends on the results of the PVPV, sir.
PVPV, but no. Results are wonderful, no? PVPV is one procedure which has better results compared to any other valvuloplasty. Is it not?
Yes.
So that I think you should not be. I'll not be able to give you that. Anything else?
I can also think of
that you have to think. Procedure was done and followed 8 months. The person is again worsened, totally improved and worsened again. Okay, that also you have to see. Is it not? And here is getting on exercise. Okay, that also you have to remember.
Yeah. The other possibility which I can consider is that the first stage procedure was balloon atrial septostomy, sir.
Exactly. Okay.
Was done.
So after balloon atrial septostomy, why do they deteriorate in 8 months?
Like the interatrial communication is like initially it has sufficed, but the main pathology still remains, sir. So the corrective surgery has not been done.
No, that does not.
Like
that
if
cannot
we are
explain.
thinking of,
That cannot
sir,
explain.
Sir, like balloon atrial septostomy has been done for a TA-PVC. And
no, don't think that it will close within 8 months, is it not? Or will it decrease in size in 8 months? Okay. The balloon, in fact, it will get stretched, is it not? Atrial septum.
Yeah, which.
Okay, I think we'll leave it here.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go to the physical examination
now. Okay, sir. On examination of the child is active, alert, playful in the mother's lap. The vitals were, the pulse rate was 110 per minute. It was regular, rhythmic, normal in character and volume.
Okay, 110 at this age. Is it normal, tachycardia or bradycardia?
Sir, it's normal for his age, sir. He is
normal for his age. Good, very good. Okay. Carry on.
It is bilaterally synchronous. All peripheral pulses are palpable.
What do you mean by bilateral synchronous pulse? This is something new which I am hearing.
So it can be felt at the same time in right and the left radial arteries. At the same, there is no radial delay, sir.
Okay. So the simpler term is no radial delay.
No radial delay. Yes.
Femoral delay also.
Yes, sir. No radiofemoral delay.
Okay.
The blood pressure in the right upper limb was 90 by 60 mm of Hg.
Okay.
In the left upper limb, it was 86 by 60 mm of Hg. In the
is it
lower.
Normal?
Yes, sir. For his age, it is normal, sir.
Normal. Okay. How do you define normality at that age?
Sir, for the children, we have to take, first of all, we have charts for him, which depends on the patient's.
Which charts? What charts?
For hypertension, we have pediatric charts, which are depending on the.
Yeah, which society has given that? So below 18 years of age, you can go by the charts.
Sir, we have charts by American Academy of Pediatrics also.
Okay. Are they applicable to our country?
And we have Indian Academy of Pediatrics charts also.
You can go by IAP charts. As last time I told you can same for height and weight, same for the blood pressure also. You can go by the IAP charts.
IAP charts are there.
Yeah, so this is normal for his age. I hope you have compared it with the charts. Okay.
Yes, sir. I have compared, sir.
Okay, good. So next.
His respiratory rate is 28 per minute. It's abdominothoracic, regular.
Temperature 28 at that time, it indicates tachypnea or not?
No, sir. It's normal for his age, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Temperature is 98 degree Fahrenheit, axillary. The saturation was 65 to 70% in all the 4 limbs, sir.
So this indicates again there is a systemic arterial desaturation which is quite significant, which is quite deep. Okay, which is quite deep, yes.
Yes. The anthropometry, his weight is 7 kilograms, which lies between 0 to +1 standard deviation according to IAP, sir. His length is 69 centimeters, which lies between +1 and +2 according to IAP charts. Head circumference is 45 centimeters, lying between +1 and
circumference is important here.
Sir, in any children below 1 year of age, we have to, routinely we take head circumference. Because
routinely. Okay, but does it have any relevance to the TGA with intact IVS?
Sir, in failure to thrive conditions, if it is there, the child will have overall generalized growth retardation. So the head circumference will also decrease along with his weight and height.
Okay. No, height does not decrease in failure to thrive. It's more of the weight which decreases. Height will be
more of the weight
most of the time. Yeah. It's more of a weight which is not keeping up pace. Yeah. Carry on.
Yes. Cyanosis is present. No clubbing. No pallor, icterus,
lymphadenopathy. When cyanosis, you have to tell me whether it's uniform, whether it is central, whether it is peripheral, whether it is mild, whether it is deep, okay, whether it is differential, all these things you have to tell me. Only cyanosis is not going to suffice.
Yeah, it is central cyanosis. Central cyanosis is present, sir, which is present in all the 4 limbs, all the 4 limbs, and it is like deep only because the saturation was 70%.
Uniform, deep, central cyanosis.
Yes, uniform, deep,
good. Central cyanosis. Okay, good.
But there was no clubbing.
No clubbing. Okay.
No pallor, icterus, lymphadenopathy or edema.
Mm-hmm.
There is no craniofacial dysmorphism.
Mm-hmm. Where did you look for edema here?
Sir, edema since he does not stand, sir, I looked for the sacral edema in this case.
Sacral edema, very good. Any other place?
We can see in the blades of the scapula also, sir, in the back.
No. You see, one is sacral, second is posterior thigh, and third is periorbital. Okay, these three things you should tell me first.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah. Proceed.
There is no craniofacial dysmorphism. Elicited because of his short, low age.
Yeah, generally JVP, yeah, we don't elicit in infants. Yes. No, JVP we don't bother.
That's why I could not.
Yes.
On examination of the precordium,
but no. In place of JVP, do you have surrogate for JVP in an infant? What is surrogate for JVP in the infant?
So we can see for liver, sir.
Very good. So look for hepatomegaly. A soft pulsatile hepatomegaly you can look for.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Carry on. So did you look for that liver hepatomegaly, pulsatile soft hepatomegaly?
I looked for it. I'll mention it in per abdominal examination.
Okay, at that time you want to mention. Okay.
Yes. Examination of the precordium. The chest is of normal shape and symmetry without any deformities. There is no precordial bulge.
Okay.
The apex is diffuse. It is in the fifth right intercostal space. 0.5 centimeters medial to the mid-clavicular line in continuation with the right parasternum with lateral retraction suggestive of RV type of apex.
Okay, so what do you mean by diffuse here?
Sir, because it cannot be localized to a single intercostal space, sir.
No. Define apex first. What is the definition of apex?
It is the lowermost and the outermost, most definitive impulse.
I'll tell you a better definition. Okay.
Yes.
It's the downmost and outermost point of definite cardiac impulse. As I told you, my definitions will be in inverted commas. Okay. It's the lowermost, the downmost and outermost point of definite cardiac impulse. Okay. That is the definition of an apex beat. Okay. Somewhere there will be an outermost point. Okay. So that by definition qualifies to be the apex beat here. So generally the apex, traditionally we have been calling it as diffuse when it occupies more than space. That's 2 spaces or more, or it occupies more than an area of 2.5 square centimeters. That is 1 square inch. Okay, but that by definition becomes a diffuse apex. Okay, but that is most of the time in the olden days, traditionally a diffuse apex was supposed to be an RV apex. A well-localized apex was supposed to be an LV apex, which no longer holds good in evidence-based cardiology. Okay. So nowadays diffuse is not necessarily RV always. It can be LV aneurysm. It can be LV dilatation sometimes. Okay. So diffuse does not convey much information. So, but much information is conveyed when you say it's continuous with the left parasternal pulsations and it is associated with the lateral retraction. Okay. That is one point, single point, which tells me whether apex is formed by the right ventricle and not by the left ventricle. And there's no biventricular hypertrophy also. Okay. If you have a left ventricle will have a apex will be out, there will be medial retraction and there will be discontinuous. Okay. Whereas in biventricular hypertrophy, you'll be able to feel the LV apex, you'll be able to feel the parasternal pulsations, they'll be discontinuous with a retraction in between the two. In RV apex, there's a lateral retraction and the apex is continuous with the left parasternal pulsations and there's no area of discontinuity between the two. So that tells me whether it's LV, RV or biventricular. Okay, so here going by your description, it is right ventricle. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, there are no pulsations in the neck, suprasternal region, epigastrium or back.
Okay.
No palpable thrill, no directed veins, scars, sinuses, or pigmentations are present. On percussion, the liver dullness is present on the right side in the fifth intercostal space, and it is coming 1 centimeter below the costal margin. The stomach tympani is present on the left hypochondrium. The left heart border is corresponding to apex. The right heart border is retrosternal.
Okay.
The second left intercostal space is resonant on percussion, sir. On auscultation, the first heart sound is normal. Only a single component of the second heart sound could be heard. The second heart sound is single. I could not hear any third or fourth heart sounds.
Okay.
No additional sounds were auscultated.
Okay.
There is a mixed frequency continuous murmur of grade 3/6 heard in the left infraclavicular area with late systolic accentuation, and its maximum intensity is around S2 without any relation to the without any change with respiration or change in posture, and no eddy sounds could be heard.
Okay.
Examination of the other system, sir.
No, auscultation is over?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so summarize the auscultative findings. First sound is normal.
The first heart sound is normal. Second heart sound is single.
Okay, and single and loud or single and normal in intensity?
Single and normal in intensity.
Single and normal, not loud. Okay, and third and no additional sounds you told?
No additional sounds. Third and fourth heart sounds are also.
There's only one murmur.
There is a continuous murmur, sir, of intensity 3/6 mixed frequency in the left infraclavicular area.
Okay.
Its systolic accentuation, and its intensity seems to be maximum around S2.
Okay.
Without any change with respiration or change in position of the neck.
It's peaking around S2.
S2, sir.
Okay.
Speaking
and why this change in posture with the neck you have seen?
Sir, I have seen this change in posture like since the site can also be a site of venous hum, sir.
Very good. Yes. So venous hum can also produce a continuous murmur which can be heard in the infraclavicular area. Yes. So now you can tell me all the differences between venous hum and a PDA murmur.
Yes, sir. First of all, PDA murmur will be a continuous murmur which will be peaking around.
Continuous. Okay. So the differential diagnosis is because both are continuous. Yeah.
Yes, sir. It will be peaking around S2, sir. PDA murmur. Whereas in the case of a venous hum, there will be no peaking around S2, first of all.
Very good. 1, 2.
Second point, which will be there, like the venous hum, the murmur of a venous hum changes with the position of the neck. Whereas in the case of PDA, it won't change.
No. What exactly? What happens with the position of the neck? Elaborate further.
Yeah, when we say, like if the examiner is standing on the back of the child and he asks to change the, ask the child to turn his neck on one side, and the examiner tries to object with his hand, with the examiner's left hand, he tries to object the child.
No. I think you are confused and you are going into too much of detail. Okay, you have to make things simple. Okay, I will tell you. I'll ask you in simple things. Suppose you turn the neck to same side.
Yes.
Okay, now this is on the left side. Suppose you turn to left side neck. Venous hum, what will happen?
Sir, it will increase. It will be there. It will be present there, sir.
And if you turn to opposite side?
It will disappear. Right side? It will disappear.
God. Oh God. You got it exactly opposite, is it not? Venous hum will disappear if you turn it to the same side. Okay, venous hum will be accentuated if you turn it to the opposite side. So in this case, if you turn the neck to left side, venous hum will disappear. If you turn it to the right side, venous hum will be accentuated. Whereas a PDA,
it does the PDA won't.
Okay, so remember this. Your basic concepts are your basic concepts are going for a talk. As I told you, okay, because you may know the diagnosis, but whatever you are able to have the basic facts are right and all, that's very important. Okay, this was a very important fact where you totally missed it. Okay, third one.
Sir, the venous hum can be obliterated, sir, with a hand. Can obliterate.
Hand where? Hand where will you keep?
At the root of the neck, sir.
And you told me the examiner does not have to necessarily stand at the back of the child, okay? He can be there even at the front. Okay, the examiner position is not going to change the behavior of venous hum with the examiner position. So all these things look funny to me, sound funny to me rather. Okay, so try to make things simple. Try to keep things simple, okay?
Yeah.
What is the third you told?
Sir, venous hum
pressure of hand where?
So at the root of the neck.
Yeah, so root of the neck means where? Near the mandible or near the clavicle?
Sir, near the clavicle, sir.
So what will happen to venous hum and what will happen to PDA?
If we compress at the root of the neck, the venous hum will disappear, whereas it won't change the PDA murmur.
Yeah, so PDA murmur will not change. Very good. 4.
Sir, eddy sounds, if it is a large PDA, we can hear the eddy sounds.
Yeah, eddy sounds are heard in PDA, they are not in venous hum. 5.
Venous hum.
5.
With change in lying down position and change in sitting, the venous hum can change, but the PDA murmur does not change, sir.
So what is that change?
Change with posture.
So what is that change? You tell me what happens. Okay.
Yes, sir.
What happens on standing and what happens on lying down? In lying down, venous sum will disappear. On standing, venous sum will be aggravated. The PDA murmur will not change. Okay. And here you have examined in the lying down position?
Yes, sir. I've examined mostly in lying down only.
Lying down. Then okay. So venous sum, unless you keep in the lying down, venous sum cannot be heard. Okay. You are hearing only in sitting or standing position.
Standing position. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Which phase of cardiac cycle is venous sum more prominent?
Sir, diastole, sir.
Diastole. Okay. So systolic, when compared to systole, diastole, venous sum is more prominent.
Yes.
Whereas the PDA murmur will peak around the second half one, which you already told, which peak around the S2. Very good. Yes. So these are 7 things which you have to remember about the differences. Okay. Carry on.
Sir, examination of the other systems. The chest examination, bilateral air entry is present. No adventitious sounds are heard.
Okay.
It is clear. The per abdomen examination, their liver is 1 centimeter below the costal margin. It is non-tender, non-pulsatile, and it is soft. There is no splenomegaly, and the abdomen is soft on palpation. Bowel sounds are normal. Examination of the central nervous system, the anterior fontanelle is open. It is at level. And the other central nervous examination findings are normal.
Okay. So now you summarized history and you summarized examination also. So we directly go to the complete cardiac diagnosis here.
Okay, sir. So I'll keep my diagnosis as situs solitus, echocardia, cyanotic congenital heart disease with decreased pulmonary blood flow. That is dependent.
Again, when you're telling the diagnosis now, remember that the patient has undergone a procedure. Okay. So you tell cyanotic heart disease, status post probable PDA stenting.
Yeah.
Okay. And after PDA stenting, justified in calling it decreased pulmonary flow.
Drug dependent circulation for which PDA stenting was done, sir. So I would like to put it in diagnosis, sir.
Yeah. Right heart syndrome.
Sir, in the case of hypoplastic right heart syndrome, the right-sided chambers and the walls will be hypoplastic. Like there can be tricuspid stenosis.
You mean to say tricuspid atresia with pulmonary atresia? That is what we discussed, no?
Yeah, but since we have a
tricuspid atresia, we discussed with the NRGA, and the pulmonary atresia is the first type, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Type A, type 1A, or type 2A, whatever you can consider. Is it pulmonary atresia? Tricuspid atresia with pulmonary atresia. Is that what you mean when you say hypoplastic right heart?
Sir, I don't want to commit tricuspid atresia per se, because in the case of tricuspid atresia, there I supposed to get a LV type of apex, sir.
So I can understand, because as I told you again, the justification is going to be paramount for you. Okay, now you discuss, because what is happening, you are trying to entertain some of the rarest of rare possibilities, which probably, none of the examiners might have seen, and you might not have seen in your life, or somebody, I think, I know, carry on. So what are the possibilities you want to entertain?
Sir, single ventricle morphological.
No, I'm surprised because you told single ventricle, and in the history you wanted to consider DTG. But in a differential, DTJ is not coming at the third level or fourth level also, is it not? Why do you not want to consider DTJ now? What made you rule out DTJ after your examination?
Sir, in the case of like DTGA, if I would have considered, like that was a possibility at that, but further carrying
now
DTGA.
after examination, in other terms, after examination, you found some findings which are not going in favor of DTGA here.
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to tell me those findings which are not going in favor of DTGA here.
Yes, sir. First of all, the second left intercostal space, sir, it is dull to percussion in this case. It is resonant. In the case of DTGA, since the iota will be forward, sir, I'll expect it to be dull.
No. You see, the position of the great arteries in DTGA is basically the ventricular arterial discordance.
Yes,
but
sir.
ventricular arterial discordance, the position of the great arteries, okay, varies in different people of DTGA. Okay, in some of the patients, okay, you can have a directly anteroposterior relation.
Yes.
Okay, there the second space may be resonant. Just based on the second space resonance, you cannot rule out a DTGA. You have to have more hard findings. Okay, it's not necessary that the aorta will always be right and anterior. Okay, aorta can be some other position also in DTGA.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, in fact, if you draw, I think I'm not having I cannot show you the blackboard and all something here. Okay, the different positions and all 8%, 14% and 82% all are given, no? The incidence is given, or the various positions of aorta when compared to the in DTGA. And the position, okay, all of them are discordant by definition. Okay, but the position of the aorta may be different in relation to pulmonary artery in different people. It may not always be right and anterior. That you have to remember.
Sir, the second point which I have is like I could not hear two second heart sounds, sir. In the case of DTGA with intact.
No, DTGA is S2 single more common or S2 split is more common in DTGA.
Sir, due to the anterior malposition of the aorta, we cannot hear the cannot hear the pulmonary component.
I'm just asking you because what's happening when I ask you simply, you should answer me simply. Okay.
More likely to have a single, sir.
Single, no, okay. So then you also told single second sound. So what made you rule out DTGA here? Single second sound is more common than splitting here.
And splitting of the
so then how can I rule out DTGA because there's no splitting here? Because second sound I want to consider DTGA all the more probable.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Think. Okay, because what's happening in clinical diagnosis, in cardiology of all the aspects of medicine or all the subspecialties of medicine, it's more of deductive reasoning. Okay, at each and every level, you'll be taking out the possibilities, what are other possibilities, and you'll be ruling out one by one. As you add another finding, you rule out some possibilities. As you add the third finding, rule out some possibilities. Okay, but you cannot discount any finding, and you cannot rule out any possibility just because of based on a single finding. Okay, it's more of a deductive reasoning. Always remember, clinical medicine is deductive reasoning, and all the more so clinical cardiology.
Yes.
And all the more so pediatric clinical cardiology. Give me some hard findings which made you rule out DTGA here. Because as I told you, diagnosis may be known to you.
Yes, sir.
Echocardiographic diagnosis is known to most of the candidates. 99% of the examination candidates, they know the echocardiographic diagnosis. Okay. But I have to know whether the deductive reasoning has been on the right track or not. Okay, so I think it's difficult for you to rule out DTGA at this level now. Okay, carry on. Justify your diagnosis. Single ventricle with
single ventricle with the two-stage surgeries and all, they won't favor for DTGA. They will favor for single ventricle.
They will have for single ventricle. They will have for DTGA. Okay, no. Suppose a patient has undergone a balloon atrial septostomy, followed by they can have an arterial switch operation. Is it not a stage procedure?
Yes, sir. Total 3 stages they have told us.
So we can call it no because they have a balloon atrial septostomy followed by that. That is a blade atrial septostomy followed by, so that is also stage procedure.
Yes, sir. Only 2 stages it will come.
Only 2 stages. Okay, so 2 stages can also occur in TOF also, is it not? A beatation followed by a intracardiac repair. Okay, intracardiac repair can also be done in stages. So just by the basis of 3 stages procedure, you think it's a single ventricle, I think again it's a long shot. Any other
systolic murmur because of this?
No, systolic murmur is not telling. No, he's telling
There
you
is no
continuous
systolic
murmur.
murmur.
No systolic. Yeah, it's only a continuous murmur is telling.
Yes.
And he told there's only one murmur here, single murmur.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I stopped him in between when he was telling his diagnosis. I didn't allow him to complete. Kindly complete your diagnosis, Dr. Murtuja.
Yes, sir. So the single ventricle differentials I was telling, sir. Yeah. So DILB.
Because all the differential had URV with pulmonary atresia, the mitral atresia with pulmonary atresia,
Yes.
any other the single ventricle differentials which I will not consider. Okay, any other differential diagnosis you want to give in single ventricle?
Sir, DILB with pulmonary atresia.
Double inlet left ventricle. Okay, that's nothing but a single ventricle again.
Yes, sir. All the differentials.
Common type.
Yeah. I would like to. Single ventricle differentials only, sir.
Yeah. No, single ventricle differentials which we take commonly, which you are not considering here. Okay, because you have landed yourself in the soup now. Okay, now carry on. Single ventricle with what else? Next.
Single ventricle physiology and with pulmonary atresia. All of these.
Status post PDA starting with the single ventricle physiology, and you told VSD with the decreased pulmonary flow. Single ventricle physiology with what? Pulmonary atresia, pulmonary stenosis, what?
Pulmonary atresia, sir.
With pulmonary atresia, and I hope a single ventricle of LV type.
No, sir. I will keep it of RV type because
RV type. Okay, again
it is a rare possibility.
Rare possibility, is it not?
But yeah.
The last time I was discussing, most of the single ventricles are LV type.
85%.
Okay. And the traditional teaching is 80%, 15%, and 5%. Is it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
But in this case, since apex, I am clearly getting of RV.
Yeah,
type,
no,
so
that is what we consider later. So single ventricle of RV type with pulmonary atresia.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay. Carry on. I think. Okay, carry on. Complete your diagnosis first.
And in sinus rhythm, not in heart failure.
Sinus rhythm, not in heart failure. Okay.
No signs of infective endocarditis, sir.
Okay. No signs of infective endocarditis. Okay, very good. Is the diagnosis complete now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, can you tell me what is the cause of worsening here after your whole diagnosis? And why do you think it's a single ventricle of the RV type? First, I will ask you why single ventricle of RV type you are thinking here.
So, although single ventricle of RV type is just of 10%.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the most common, but since I am clearly getting a RV apex, so I kept this possibility of RV type single ventricle.
Okay, so just because of RV type. No, first you tell me why do you consider single ventricle, and then you tell me why of RV type.
Yeah, single ventricle.
Why do you think it's single ventricle, number one?
Single ventricle physiology I considered because first of all, most important clue was by stage procedure, sir.
Okay, so number one is stage procedure which gave you the diagnosis. 1, 2.
Yeah.
Because which, as I told you, don't go by ready-made diagnosis. You can be wrong there. Okay, 2.
Yeah. And
just because of that you made diagnosis of single ventricle or any other things in the examination. What did you find?
On examination, the hard findings which I have is just cyanosis is there with RV type of apex.
Cyanosis can be there, anything on the earth, no? Okay, what made you diagnose single ventricle? Single ventricle of RV type. Can they have an rudimentary chamber? What type of rudimentary chamber they will have?
Single ventricle of RV type can have inverted rudimentary chamber, sir.
Yeah, they will have a LV chamber which is rudimentary.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
chamber with LV trabeculations. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be able to feel the pulsations of the rudimentary chamber.
No, sir, we won't.
How will be the relations of the great arteries?
It will be
They will be mostly, sir, D malpost, the great arteries.
D malpost means what exactly? Can you tell me? Aorta is on which side? The PA is on which side?
Aorta will be on the right side and anterior, and PA will be posterior and on the left side.
Okay, so that's a single ventricle of LV type. What about single ventricle of RV type?
Single ventricle of RV type, the LV will be the rudimentary chamber, sir. And in those cases, the great arteries will be mostly. I'm not sure of the relationship.
So okay, LV relationship is different. RV single ventricle RV is different. Okay.
Yeah.
Having concordant arrangement is more common in RV type. Okay. When compared to the LV type, where it is more of the time transposed. Okay. So that's not going to help us here. Anything else? Single ventricle. How will be the second sound?
Single ventricle.
Single ventricle second sound will be single or split, which is more common.
So the second heart sound can be like as iota.
No, which is more common. Simply I'm asking you. Single ventricle, a case of single ventricle.
Yes, sir.
Is single second sound more common or is a split second sound more common?
Split second heart sound will be more common, sir.
More common. Very good. Okay. So single second sound, you generally don't consider single ventricle. Okay. Of course, single ventricle, there are conditions where you can get a single second sound. But more common is split second sound. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And pulmonary component will be loud enough most of the time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in single ventricle, if you get a single second sound, what do you consider?
Ventricle physiology with a single second heart sound can be like due to either it is due to pulmonary atresia is there, sir, or there is
single ventricle with pulmonary atresia again. How common is that?
Yeah, it's not very common, sir. Yeah.
So first thing when you have a single second sound that is loud, you'll think of a single ventricle with Eisenmenger situation, is it not? That is more common. Single ventricle with an Eisenmenger situation will get a loud and single
Loud second heart sound.
Yes. That is what is more common. I will not consider pulmonary atresia as the first possibility. Pulmonary stenosis can occur.
Yeah.
Okay. And then again, pulmonary stenosis occurs when it is significant. You can get a single aortic.
It should be very
sound.
severe.
Yeah. But pulmonary atresia single ventricle, I don't think. There may be some case, some case reports. Some rare case reports may be there. Okay. Yes. So where in clinical medicine or clinical cardiology, think of common things first. Okay. Common things are more common and always think. And common things with rare findings are more common than rare conditions with common findings. That you should also remember. So these are the things. These are all my aphorisms actually. Okay. Yes. And as I told you, these are all in inverted commas. Okay. So now, are you able to justify your single ventricle diagnosis if I take away that 3-stage procedure? It is the only you made a diagnosis of single ventricle.
Of course.
Is it not? Yeah, that's the only reason. So that again, what I will examiner think that this fellow got the clue from the registrar or the resident. Okay, and is not able to explain his own diagnosis. Okay.
In these cases,
even if diagnosis is no, 1 minute, listen to me, Murtuja. Even if your diagnosis is wrong, okay, but if you are able to justify your diagnosis with your clinical findings, then we give it to you. But if your diagnosis is right and they are not able to justify it, it becomes very difficult for us to give it to you. Okay. Yeah, tell me now. What's your counter?
Yeah, I got your point.
You got my point? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason, the problem with the modern cardiology. What has happened? Because interventions have become so commonplace and subspecialties have become so commonplace. We are losing the sight of the bigger picture. Okay. We have become so enamored of minute findings and minute, so we are losing sight of that. And in a diagnosis, you did not tell me about the PDA. You told me single ventricle differentials, but you didn't explain the continuous one with the PDA.
It's a patent.
Post PDA stenting status, post PDA patent, PDA stenting we told. But again, in your diagnosis, after single ventricle, you should have told me a patent PDA stent.
Patent PDA.
Then that would have given you. And you are getting a 3/6 murmur also. Yes. Okay, but in spite of that, the person is having a deep cyanosis.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. That means the pulmonary blood flow is not adequate. So there has to be some kind of cyanosis, probably which can be an admixture lesion, which a single ventricle can explain there. Okay. In such a deep cyanosis, in spite of a PDA murmur of 3/6, okay, long murmur peaking around S2 or P2, okay, are able to hear that. That means there has to be some other pathology for cyanosis here besides reduced pulmonary blood flow. So it may be the admixture lesion, which probably single ventricle might have explained. So that you could have taken the plea there. Okay. So I was thinking whether you are able to explain your diagnosis or not. Okay. So now what will you do for him?
So, sir, I'd like to see his ECG and X-ray.
Very good. So can I see the ECG?
Yes.
First will you go for ECG or first will you go for X-ray?
Actually,
no. What will happen? No, when you know the diagnosis, or vision becomes tubular. You are able to think laterally and
actually,
able to think widely. Because the moment we become tubular, no, our vision becomes very tubular.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken. Now the ECG is in front of me. Okay, read aloud the ECG.
Yes, sir. Sir, this is the 12 lead 4-channel ECG of baby of Shanti Kumar with half standardization of the limb leads and 1/4 standardization of the chest lead, sir.
Okay.
The
1/4 of the
chest lead, sir.
Okay.
Precordial lead, sir.
Yeah, precordial leads. Okay, very good. Yes.
The heart rate is approximately 150 beats per minute, sir. Rhythm is sinus. QRS axis is right axis deviation, which is around between +90 and +120.
Okay, L1 is negative, AVF is positive. So it is a right axis deviation. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then we will look at L3.
AVR, if we look, sir, AVR is negative.
AVR is negative. Okay.
Yes,
so how much it is? AVR is negative, it should be less than 120?
90. Yeah, between 90 to 120. Sir.
So now tell me how much is the axis?
Around 105, sir. It will
Very
be
good. Before that, what you told me, axis 130 or 140 you told me, no?
No, sir. I said between 190 and 120, sir.
As I told 90 and 120. Okay, so you can say plus or minus 105.
Yes.
105 plus minus 15 degrees, you can say. Very good. Yes. Okay, carry on.
So there is, according to P waves, the P wave axis is normal and right atrial enlargement P pulmonale is there, sir.
Okay, where is the P pulmonale here as evidenced by what?
P pulmonale, we can see like if this is half standardization actually.
Yes.
We can see in these two, and it is covering around 1.5 small square.
So can you zoom it and show to me because I think it's there.
Sir.
Yeah, not very clear. Yes. Okay. Yeah, how much it is occupying 2 small squares, so it becomes 4.
Yeah, yes, sir. So
okay, so that becomes right atrial enlargement.
Right atrial enlargement.
Okay, there, what about the P wave in V1? Can you zoom it and show to me?
Not very clear.
V1.
Yes.
Yes. What's happening there? Is the P wave more negative or more positive?
It's more negative, sir.
More negative. So that goes in favor of RA or LA?
Sir, it goes more in the favor of RA.
RA. Okay. Why you get a negative component is indicative of RA enlargement or LA enlargement in V1?
Sorry, it is LA. Sorry.
LA.
In V1 negative. V terminal forces.
Okay, so you are hungry. You didn't have Arian Rosa or something like that.
I just broke the fast.
You broke the fast and come. No, I think you had enough calorie for you to present because you're doing some silly mistakes here. That's the reason. Okay, so one thing I will like all of you to know, there is an extreme right atrial dilatation. You can have a negative component in V1, which is more prominent. So a negative P wave component in V1 can also occur in extreme right atrial dilation. That you should all remember. One of the common mistake which all of you make. Okay, so that you should remember, and the cause I will discuss it some other time when we are taking the ECG class. Okay, so now you remember that extreme right atrial dilatation can also lead to a negative component much more prominent in V1 than the positive component. So negative component does not indicate only left atrial; it can also be there in right atrial. Right atrial has to be extreme dilatation.
Extreme. Yes.
All of you should remember. Okay, and the name is also given. I will discuss around for that. Okay, next, sir, what is QRS complexes in V1?
Yeah, sir.
Right axis deviation, right atrial enlargement, sinus tachycardia.
And there is, sir, clockwise looping is also there, sir. There are two waves.
Okay, so loop is clockwise. Yeah, Q waves in L2, L3 AVF and RS in, okay, L1 and AVL. No problems. I agree with you. Carried. So clockwise loop, okay. And then what about V1 QRS complexes?
The QRS complexes are R by S is more than 1, sir. It is almost equal.
No. Where is R here? Zoom the V1 here. You are doing silly mistakes in the ECG. Is there R here?
R is here.
How to table the QRS here? What do you call as a Q wave? The first negative deflection of QRS complex.
This is the Q wave, sir. Here is the
Q wave.
This is the R wave.
Yeah. So if the first there's a QR complex here. There's no RS here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. S wave is second negative deflection, which follows a R wave is S wave. Yes, where is the S wave here? There's no S wave here.
There's no S wave. QR complexes.
Simple things you cannot afford to do mistakes, Dr. Murtuja. Okay, so this is a QR complex. And indicating what?
QR complex indicates that there is suprasystemic RV pressure, sir.
Very good. Indicates again extreme right atrial dilatation.
Yeah.
Okay, so it indicates extreme right atrial dilatation. So V1 will become a cavitary lead. So V1 mimics AVR. Okay, and when V1 mimics AVR, you get an inverted P wave, and you also get a QR complex in V1. Okay, just like AVR, indicating again extreme right atrial dilatation. Now coming to the progression of the QRS complex here in the precordial leads.
There is sudden appearance of S wave, sir, from V1 to V2.
Yes, but again that is because of an extreme right atrial dilatation. Okay, so that does not tell us anything. In fact, sudden appearance of S wave is there.
R wave progression
again because of R wave progression.
It is normal, sir.
Quite normal. Very good. From V1 to V5 increasing and decreasing again in V6.
Yes, sir.
That's quite normal R wave progression. Okay.
I cannot see any Q waves in V5, V6, sir.
V6 again. Okay, so QR in V1 is again one of the sign of ventricular inversion also.
Inversion, sir.
Yes. Yeah, so ventricular inversion. Besides extreme right, second possibility is ventricular inversion here.
Inversion.
Okay, but here this is a 1/4 precordial lead.
Yeah, 1/4.
Okay, so if there's a small Q wave, probably we are going to miss it V5, V6.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to zoom it to that and again you have to look for the we have to diligently look for a Q wave in V5, V6 unless you are suspecting ventricular inversion for some reason. Okay, again going by a TG and all. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so now is this ECG in favor of single ventricle of RV type?
So it is going in favor of single ventricle of RV type, sir.
Okay. What are the ECG features of single ventricle of RV type here?
Sir, I am getting a right axis deviation. Right atrial enlargement is there, sir. QR pattern in V1 is there, sir. And no Q waves in V5, V6 are there. And right atrial enlargement is also there, sir. So these go in the favor of like.
Have you taken the right sided lead?
Sir, no, I haven't, sir, in this.
You haven't taken. Okay. What will be the axis, QRS axis in a single ventricle of RV type? Sir, it will be extreme right axis deviation, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Extreme right axis deviation. Here it's only plus 105.
Not much.
Right axis deviation. Okay, so that's not very much in favor of an RV type.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else? How will be the precordial leads?
The precordial leads, sir, they will be like Q wave, QR pattern will be there, sir.
No. Again in V1, V2, 3, you should get all R waves, is it not?
It will be
tall R waves here. Stereotypic. Yes, very good. So you get the tall R waves in V1, V2. Where are they? Not there.
They are not there. Yes, sir.
So then why do you think ECG is in favor of single ventricle? I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you see how you land in trouble with a ready-made diagnosis.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because as per me, this ECG, I don't think it's a single ventricle. Okay. Carry on now. You'll go for the X-ray now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So this is the chest X-ray.
Chest X-ray.
Of AB of Shanti Kumar. AP view slightly rotated towards the left. It seems to be overexposed, sir.
Okay.
The site is solitous in this case. The CT ratio is 0.5.
Okay.
So it is not suggestive of cardiomegaly. The apex seems to be of RV type.
RV or LV?
It is like dipping. It's more of LV.
Then why do you think it's RV type? It's dipping below the diaphragm, is it not?
It's dipping. So it's of LV type.
It's of LV type, yes.
Yes, sir. I can see the
clinically, so clinical findings and X-ray findings are not correlated.
Yes, sir.
Is it not?
Yeah. PDA stent can be seen.
Very good. Long PDA stent you are able to see.
The right heart.
Patency, can you tell on the X-ray, chest X-ray?
Sir, it will depend on the lung fields, how they are, sir.
The patent stent and you cannot tell on the, just on the stent shadow.
Yeah.
Okay, stent is not going to collapse there. Stent is, even if the stent is blocked, okay, 100% block of the stent is not going to show you a collapsed stent there. Okay, stent will look similar whether it is patent or whether it's completely blocked. Okay, based on X-ray, you cannot say the stent is patent. You require some angio for that, okay, or some echo for that.
Yes, sir. The lung vascularity, sir, due to overexposure, I cannot comment it in a proper manner.
Most of the time, digital films is very difficult to comment, I think. It's not like the old done, okay. But all said and done, I will go for increased vascularity, especially in the right lung if you see.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
I think the end-on views, there are many end-on views. Okay, and even the right pulmonary artery, if you take the descending, okay, here, the right lower lobe descending pulmonary artery appears to be much larger. Okay, so there may be some differential vascularity, and this is more of increased pulmonary blood flow situation rather than decreased pulmonary blood flow. Is it not? So LV type with increased pulmonary blood flow. There may be some streaming occurring preferentially towards the right lung, right pulmonary. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this X-ray goes in favor of single ventricle, yes or no, of RV type?
Of LV type.
Of LV type. Okay. So
This
now you want to
effect seem
change
to- this
RV
effect
effects.
is more
So
of
now you
LV.
want to change from RV to LV. So that's what. Okay, this tubular vision does to you. Carry on. Can you think of any other condition with the X-ray? Okay, I think probably you are tired and this one, mental fatigue. Okay, carry on. Now, what next will you do?
So, sir, we took this for echo, sir. Echo diagnosis was seen
Okay,
after
so
this.
can I see the echo? This one, echo films are there?
No, sir.
Echo
films
and
are not.
recording rather. CD recording or something.
Actually, it was a very old case, sir.
This is an old case. No, but you examined today, you told no.
No, sir.
Patient, I thought the patient is admitted for some procedure 8.5 months now.
No, sir. It's an old case. We don't have any patients as such now. We have very less.
You do not have any patient now. Okay. So old means how old? How much old? How many days back?
It is approximately 6 months previously I did, sir.
Oh God, 6 months back. So the patient is not there in the hospital right now?
No, sir. Even the Glenn was done. And
Yes, the Glenn was done. Show me the echo report at least.
I have the echo report, sir. It's not like being displayed. I can tell you the report, sir.
You cannot display the echo report here?
No, sir. It's actually written in my
like
copy.
X-ray.
I'll tell you.
I have. You want to read it loud? No problem. I haven't
taken it in this. It's written in my copy, sir.
No problem. Read it aloud.
Sir, it was actually a mitral atresia, sir, with pulmonary atresia, basic pathology.
Mitral atresia
with pulmonary atresia, sir.
My God. Okay. So there's a reason I think you wanted to keep as that as a third possibility. But as I told you, probably you can, okay, I have not even dreamt of that case probably. Mitral atresia with pulmonary atresia. In other words, you are dealing with a hypoplastic right heart and hypoplastic left heart. Is it not?
Yeah, something like
surprising, which is and all. And I really do not know how the patient survived in utero and how this person was born normal with a cesarean section and he survived up to 8 months of age. Okay. What is basically mitral atresia? What will happen? Now, pulmonary atresia is there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now you can describe the circulation to me. SVC and IVC, then coming to the right atrium. Okay, then coming to the right ventricle. Now not able to go to the pulmonary atresia. It's not able to go into the pulmonary circulation. Okay, yes. So right ventricle, right atrium. So right atrium has to egress through an interatrial septum. Okay. Yeah. There has to be an PFO or an ASD.
Yes,
now, both from RA, it will go to LA. And from LA, it is not able to enter the left ventricle. Okay. So that's the mitral atresia because just listen to me. Because the way you're telling mitral atresia and pulmonary atresia, why it is incompatible with life, I'm trying to drill some sense into you. Okay, it's not, the LA is not having any outlet towards the LV. So now the LV, now where will the LA empty now? So LA is emptying into RA, RA is emptying into LA. Is it going to be compatible with life now? No, tell me.
Sir, the egress will be from the RA to the single ventricle, sir. It will go like both blood from.
So now you tell me. Now RA and LA, single ventricle means both mitral tricuspid are going to open into the single ventricle. So here what is happening? Yes, from RA it is going into single ventricle.
Yes.
And LA it is going to right atrium and again going into
the single
ventricle. Okay, so there's no RV there. Okay, yes. So mitral atresia and tricuspid and from single ventricle it's going to aorta.
To aorta, sir. Yes.
Okay, and from aorta it's going into PDA and then
to the PDA into the
circulation. Okay, yes. And then again it's returning to the LA.
To the LA, sir. Yes. LA. And from LA it will go to RA again.
And LA again, RA and that. So that is a circuitous route it is taking.
Yes.
Okay. So the child has survived only because of PDA.
Sir, actually first stage was PDA stenting along with BAS was also done, sir. Balloon atrial septostomy. Because
balloon atrial septostomy is also done. Okay, very good. So now here both are essential for life here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, of course. ASD as well as PDA both are essential for life here. And the cyanosis is because of what?
Sir?
Cyanosis is because of what?
Cyanosis at the initial part of life.
Cyanosis is because of single ventricle as well as because of reduced
Both
pulmonary
depth-dependent dilation. Yeah,
blood
pulmonary
flow.
atresia is there,
Reduced
sir,
pulmonary flow as
along
well
with
as
single admixture. Both.
yeah, admixture. So both the pathologies are contributing to the cyanosis here. Okay, now good. So you think it's mitral atresia and pulmonary atresia with single ventricle.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the rarest of the rare case. Probably you can give it as a case report. Probably, maybe. Okay. Then what's the next plan for this patient? Now, what was he told 6 months back?
Sir, we did a right BDG, sir. Right Glenn was done.
Bidirectional Glenn.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what they have done in Glenn? What do they do in Glenn? Can you tell me,
Sir,
BDG Glenn?
Yeah. In the case of BDG, sir, they connect the RPA to the SVC is connected. SVC is connected to the RPA.
Right pulmonary artery.
End to side anastomosis, sir.
So SVC is connected to right pulmonary artery. Okay.
Yes.
End to side anastomosis. Very good. Yes. And what happens to main pulmonary artery?
The main pulmonary artery will be, since in this case, sir, there is
pulmonary atresia. So you don't have to do much for that because there's hardly forward flow. Okay. So what is the bidirectional here?
Sir, actually the blood of the SVC goes into the RPA, end to side anastomosis. So this blood goes to both the lungs.
Very right good. So it goes to RPA as well as it goes to LPA also. So that's the bidirectional part here.
Yes.
Very good. And they don't have to transect the MPA because already there's a pulmonary atresia. Okay. So BDG shunt. Okay. And that probably can also explain the right lung vascularity, which is more than the left lung vascularity here.
Yes.
Is it not? The RSVC has been conducted.
This is pre-BDG, sir.
This is pre-BDG. Okay.
Yes.
So then how do you explain? I don't know. Okay. Then next, what happens after the BDG?
Sir, after the BDG, the second stage palliative procedure is to be taken, which is Fontan completion, sir.
Okay, Fontan completion. Very good. What will they do in Fontan?
In the case of Fontan,
so what happens to IVC in BDG?
Sir, in the case of IVC to BDG, we don't do anything for it. We just leave it. And in the case of Fontan completion, IVC.
What's happening in IVC? IVC is draining into RA.
It is draining into the RA into the single ventricle.
And from RA, it is going into single ventricle. Okay. Yes. And again, the pulmonary flow is coming from LA to RA and single ventricle. And that's where they are mixing.
Yeah. Okay. So cyanosis will be there post BDG.
Yes.
And in Fontan completion, they will connect this IVC also to RPA, sir.
Okay. IVC will be connected to RPA.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That is this one. And then afterwards, what will they do?
Sir, Fontan completion, when they do, they have separated the systemic and the pulmonary circulation, sir. So the cyanosis should ideally go. Cyanosis goes after Fontan completion.
Okay, so systemic circulation is all towards the RPA.
All towards.
And then from that it is going to the pulmonary artery, and then it's pulmonary flow is resulting into single ventricle.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so basically what is this called as univentricularization?
Yes, sir.
Okay, already there is a single ventricle and you're making it more single because the right ventricle has been
separating the
from the circulation. Right ventricle is not needed to maintain the pulmonary circulation.
Yes, sir. Because it is a low pressure circuit.
Yeah, and this will hold good only if the pulmonary vascular resistance is
low
or normal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if it is high, it is not going to hold.
We cannot do it.
What are the criteria for Fontans?
Sir, there are 10 commandments of Chaussard, which were given in
Chaussard's criteria. Yeah.
So there are 10. First of all is
like. So is it satisfying all the criteria?
Yes, sir. It's satisfying, sir.
Okay. So how much was the pulmonary vascular resistance here?
Sir, actually, in this case, this was the first Glenn. We did not do a pulmonary vascular resistance for Glenn, sir. Normally, for Fontan completion, we see. And there was, yes, sir. So there was no evidence suggestive of increased PVR because we had to do, it was protected actually initially. So we had to do a PDS
protected with what? Yeah, PDS stenting. But afterwards, it might have developed, no? It might have developed Eisenmenger physiology afterwards.
If there would have been signs of overflowing of this PDA shunt, sir, then it could be unprotected in that cases, sir. But there was, and so the cyanosis should not be so deep in those cases. So we do not have any signs suggestive of increased PVR or increased flow. So we did not do any cath. But
as I told you, in single ventricle, if you get a loud single second sound, okay, all the more it is mandatory for you to know the pulmonary vascular resistance. I already told you in single ventricle with Eisenmenger with increased pulmonary vascular resistance, okay? The second sound is going to become single and loud.
Sir.
And you told it's a single second sound and it's loud.
Yes.
Okay, so all the more it's mandatory for us to rule out increased PVR here.
Sir, but in this case, pulmonary atresia is there. So all the cardiac
Very
output.
good. Okay, so you can explain
Yeah.
single second sound because of pulmonary
Yes.
atresia.
Yes.
There's no pulmonary component and there's only the aortic component. Good. So now you are on the right track. Very good. Okay. So what's the next now?
So we did Glenn, sir, for this child.
Glenn, and you are going to complete the Fontan procedure.
Yeah,
And
we
do
normally
Fontan.
do after
Okay,
3
so
years of age, sir.
after 3 years of age, you will complete the Fontan.
Fontan, yes, sir.
Okay, and provided is not having increased PVR by that time.
We'll do a cath, sir, before that.
Yeah, at that time we'll do a
So
cath
they
and
remove the
for the
PDA
PV.
stenting, sir, there.
Okay.
Of doing Glenn, sir.
How will you remove the PDA stenting?
PDA won't be needed after Glenn if you have done.
No, how will you remove? How will you remove?
You will. Yeah, we can remove it surgically, sir.
Surgically, oh God, how will you remove? Tell me, na.
PDA ligation is done.
Classically, you do a ligation and all.
Ligation is done, yeah.
Can I triple ligation or what is the triple ligation is the double ligation? Okay, most of the time.
Yes, sir.
That's what the surgeons do. But can it be done after stenting also? And is it equally effective?
Because when we are doing the Glenn, sir, there is no need of now.
That's definitely a rationale is well accepted. Okay,
yes,
rationale is well accepted. But after stenting, can ligation be done? And does it have equally? Is it more difficult, less difficult? Okay.
It will be difficult for them, but.
Okay, so most of the time you're going to crush the stent there and do it. Okay.
Yes.
Leave it now. Okay. Then anything else you want to consider? You want to discuss here now next? Now, where is your DTJ with intact interventricular septum? Do you want to still hold it here?
DTJ with intact ventricular septum.
That's
actually,
the first possibility to discuss, no?
Yeah, actually, I was discussing it initial as the DD, sir, not as like after the history hole.
Not as a history.
Initially, I had put it as a DD because of PDS stenting. That is also a differential for PDS stenting. That is why I had put it, sir.
Okay, but anyhow, I think in these classes and all, if you can have a look at the echo loops also, the video also, it becomes very good for us and all. Okay,
yes, sir,
but as I told you, mitral atresia with pulmonary atresia is one of the rarest possibility, and unless the patient has a single ventricle, okay, or double inlet ventricular connection, it's not going to be compatible with life itself. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The person is going to have a unilateral death and probably an abortion or whatever the child will have. Okay, only because of single ventricle they are going to survive, or double inlet ventricular connection. Okay, that's what we discussed of. Okay.
Yes.
So anyhow, I think it was one of the rarest of rare case. So thank you. But in the examination, probably I don't know how frequently will they get these type of cases. You'll have to see. Okay. So then thank you, Dr. Murthy. It was a good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And any other doubts anybody is having? Any of the participants, any doubts from your side? I agree, it's a very complicated case, and probably it's probably you may not see again in your life again. If the PDA,
what you have to do to PDA, sir, while doing Glenn?
You have to tell a little louder. What you have to do PDA while doing a Glenn?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so either you can use it percutaneously, you can close it with a coil closure or something of that sort. Okay, what we do, a PDA without stenting, is it not? But if you want to close a PDA, okay, you can use it with a ADO2 device also. Okay, but with a stent, probably you can crush it at this one. But how much that ligation is going to be crushing the stent, I'm really doubtful. You can do a percutaneous closure with an ADO2 probably. Okay. Anything else? Any other doubts?
Sir, after looking at the chest X-ray that showed LV apex, can we consider tricuspid atresia, sir?
Tricuspid atresia. Okay, tricuspid atresia with pulmonary atresia.
Yes, sir.
With normal related great arteries.
1A.
1A. Yeah, is it not normal related great arteries and tricuspid atresia with pulmonary atresia? Okay, what are the points against that we'll have to look for? But here there's a pulmonary atresia and tricuspid atresia. So how do you explain the circulations here in such a case? The RA has to go to the ASD through the left atrium.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what are the points against tricuspid atresia? In other words, I make it more simple because your question is very pointed on the X-ray only, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. On the X-ray, how will be the right side? Can I have a look at that X-ray again?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How will be the right heart border in tricuspid atresia? Can anybody tell me?
RA cutoff sign will be there.
Yeah.
RA cutoff.
So can you see?
Left.
juxtaposition of lateral appendage. Okay, right lateral appendage. Yeah. So what will happen to the right heart border?
So RA cutoff.
RA cutoff will be there, sir.
Yeah. So based on this, probably I think tricuspid atresia becomes a little unlikely. Is it not? And what will be the pulmonary vasculature in tricuspid atresia?
Sir, in 1A, the pulmonary vasculature will be less, of course.
Will be less, of course. But here the PDA stenting has probably, because we're dealing with a case which is status post PDA stenting.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So that's not probably going to help us here. Anything else? This one, I think only the right heart border is going to help us probably in this case. That will be a point which is can tell us only on the X-ray if you take is the right heart border which is going to be important.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. If we do not have any doubt, then we'll call it a day today. Okay. Then we'll meet next Wednesday again at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
so
you.
thank you
Thank
all
you,
of
sir.
you. Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
sir.
you all of
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome, all of you. I'm disconnecting now.